Hello all, welcome back to my channel. Today I am reviewing a new body horror film called Together, which premiered at Sundance earlier this year to absolutely rave reviews, and critics have been calling it the body horror movie of the year, comparing it to The Substance, saying it's the substance of the year. And I absolutely can't wait to check it out and share it with you guys. So there's actually quite a few reasons why I'm really excited to see this one. I managed to get advanced tickets to a screening this weekend as part of a showing with the director Michael Shanks, who will be there to answer our questions afterwards, which is really exciting. And of course the body horror elements, and then you've got the real life couple Dave Franco and Alison Brie, who star as Millie and Tim, and they're the main characters in the film, of course, and they also collaborated previously on another horror thriller film called The Rental, which came out around lockdown, I believe, and that one's directed by Dave Franco. And I've actually seen it a few times now. I think it's really fun. It's not super long either. Really kept me on the edge of my seat. So yeah, I recommend checking that one out. And I don't know if anyone else noticed this, but the Evil Dead vibes that the trailer gave. There's, again, the body horror and the supernatural elements, and you've got the house in the woods. And then there's the scene where Millie says to Tim in the trailer, "We have to get out of here now." And that reminded me so much of Evil Dead, because Mia says that to her brother in the film. So I don't know if they're trying to pay homage to Evil Dead with that. I mean, I guess that's a line that could be used in a lot of horror movies, but again, there's quite a few elements that reminded me of Evil Dead, so I'm keen to see how that all pans out. So although I did watch all three trailers of this film, it's quite a lot to release actually, but regardless, like I said, I'm so excited to see it and I just couldn't help it. So I'm not sure where this movie could potentially go. I do think that over the course of the film, from what I've seen, I have a feeling that Tim and Millie will mesh together and become one by the end of the film. I think that's what may happen, and throughout the film there'll be parts where they get stuck together and they're trying to figure out exactly what's going on and what's happening to them. So yeah, I think it'll just be super fun, and it really sounds like it will be very body horror oriented, which I'm just, after The Substance last year, and as mentioned, critics saying that this is the substance of 2025, and seeing that this will be a packed theatre, I'm like, yes, I'm really hoping that I get that experience that I got while watching The Substance, where I was just super engaged the whole time. So I got back last night from watching Together, and I'm just going to get straight into it. I love this movie. I had such a fun time. The audience was super fun. The Q&A afterwards was super fun. The body horror was awesome. The effects were awesome. If you liked The Substance from last year, if you liked Evil Dead, even if you liked The Thing, yeah, I think you're gonna have a really fun time with this. I recommend trying to see it with an audience if you can. I think that definitely helped. People were screaming. People were just having such a good time. People were laughing. It's definitely one of those movies that you want to check out with a crowd and go have some fun with some friends. Yeah, I can't wait to talk about this. So this will be a spoiler-free review. Because I'm so new to doing this and reviewing films on my channel, I don't really know what the limits are around talking too much about spoilers and about films that haven't been released yet, and this film doesn't come out for another 2 and a bit weeks, so I do just want to talk briefly about some of the things I did like without going into too much depth about the film. Like I said, I'm not going to talk too much about the in-depth about spoilers, and yeah, I just really want to hopefully get you guys hyped up for this movie, because I do highly recommend it. This film's about a couple who move to a home in the countryside, and their relationships become a bit stagnant, and they become a bit complacent, and over the course of the film shit happens, and fucked up things happen to them. So yes, Dave Franco and Alison Brie, they are a real life couple, and they do play the main couple in the film, and over the course of the film their relationship, yes, they become more codependent on each other, and they become so comfortable, and the relationship just becomes more volatile, and it just seems like they become too comfortable. They don't want to leave each other, so they just stay put, and the horror elements that are incorporated into that are so well done, and the filmmakers explore what can happen in a relationship over time when you do become so complacent that you really just, have no other option than to stay with your partner, basically. So I think that it was a really good a good story for a horror film, and putting again the body horror elements into that was so well done. The effects were really well created, and my partner and I, after the film, were doing a bit of a deep dive into certain scenes in the film as to, you know, how that can be transferred into some, you know, real life relationships. And like I said, I don't want to say too much, but I do really think a lot of people are going to come away from this thinking about it a lot, and people are really going to enjoy this one. And a lot of people in volatile relationships will will feel like they can relate to this, I think. If there was anything I had to complain about with the film, it is very minor. There was one relationship in particular that they didn't explore completely, and they didn't really go into detail about, but that is very minor, and it didn't take away my enjoyment from the film. And the ending, there was one particular moment in the final act where I thought it could have been drawn out a little bit more. However, again, it didn't take away my enjoyment, and it was really fun. And the final shot of the film, Chef's Kiss, was so good. I think a lot of people are really going to like it. I did also want to talk a little bit about the Q&A at the end of the film with the director Michael, because he did talk about some things that I thought was pretty interesting, and I think it's worth addressing as well. He did mention that this film was intended on originally being a smaller budget Australian project with Australian actors. However, he did end up being able to get Alison and Dave on board, which he was very excited about, and make this a bigger project. He also did address the controversy surrounding the film with the plagiarism lawsuit, and it is worth reading about. He did address this in a Reddit post, and I think if you Google Michael Shanks Together plagiarism lawsuit, it should be one of the top searches that comes up on Reddit. And I think it's quite interesting. He mentioned that he did come up with this idea back in 2019, and the whole controversy did upset him both professionally and personally. And I can tell that he does have a real passion for filmmaking, and that everyone worked really hard on this. And he also mentioned that the story of this film is actually based on his real life experiences with his partner, where the entanglement of codependency is what inspired this film. And even some of the personality traits of the characters in the film is also based off Michael's real life experiences as well. I also wanted to mention as well, another really cool fact was the film originally being set in Trentham in Victoria, which was actually coincidentally enough where my partner and I were staying the night prior to seeing the film out in what kind of feels like the middle of nowhere, really. And that's what, you know, the film's primary location is out in the bush and in the forest. So it was really cool that Michael mentioned that, because Sam, my partner, and I had no idea. We were like, oh my gosh, we were literally staying in Trentham last night, and that's where the film was originally going to be set. So I thought that was really cool. So yes, I do highly recommend this one overall. If you're a fan of body horror, if you like Dave Franco and Alison Brie, they were amazing in this film. If you like one location settings in horror films, if you like gore, I was about to say something else, but I don't want to spoil it. I just recommend checking this out if you're a horror fan. Like I said, it's probably going to be a contender for horror film of the year, potentially. And yeah, I appreciate you watching, and I do hope to have more reviews soon. Thank you again. Bye.